Okay, Erin, are we good on your end for check presentation? Okay, perfect. Okay, good evening, everyone. It's really nice to see you at our last ECA general membership meeting of the year. I'm just making sure all systems are a go virtually as well as in person here in the room. We've got a pretty full agenda for December, but the good news is there's a lot of cookies out there for when you get through all of this. So I'm gonna go through our agenda here, welcome everyone to the room. We're gonna do a special guest and check presentation, and I'm gonna go over proposed bylaw changes and the board elections. That will give you a chance to hear from all of the candidates up for ECA board positions. Then while we count those ballots and you fill out those ballots, Lindsay's gonna take over and give a train update from our train committee. We'll wrap up with community updates and election results, and we will close out with elected and local official pop-ups and candidate pop-offs there, and then we're all done and go mingle and have some cookies out in the hall. If we get through all of that, it's a wonderful, wonderful December. If those folks in the chat, who are virtual, we're going to be reaching out to you about how to vote. It looks a little different than the people in the room, so just bear with us as we verify your address and check you against our absentee ballots so we can make sure everyone has a chance to vote. I think those were the core pieces there. But a thing that we like to do at the start of our meeting is ask, is there anyone here who this is your first Eastwood Civic Association meeting? If you would want to raise your hand. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Welcome. We often like those folks to stand up and just say, hi, who are you? Really briefly, because we like to get to know our neighbors. So in the back in the green.
Hey, I'm Kat. I've been to a lot of other ECA events, but this is my first actual, kind of on the cross street across from my call it.
Thanks, Pat. Did I see one more hand there as a first meeting?
Hi, good evening. I also live at the weekend and I work with
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. Is there anyone on Zoom who this is your first ECA meeting? If you'd like to briefly unmute, audio is not always as good for the room, but we still want to know who's here. If there's anyone new, go ahead and unmute.
Good evening, this is Roy Rosales. This is my first Civic Association meeting. However, I have attended other meetings besides this type.
Thanks, Eloy. It's nice to see you on a call again.
Thank you.
Anyone else there? Okay, I'm gonna move us on to our next step. I'm really excited to invite Erin up, who is the chair of our home tour. And we just had our successful 25th anniversary home tour. And Erin and the committee that she puts together and runs have some presentations to give out tonight.
Thanks, Danielle. I think we have some home tour committee people here too. Will y'all come up with me and help me? If you're on my home tour committee, I see you, so don't hide. So like Danielle said, we celebrated our 25th annual home tour this October. It felt like summer. It was hot as hell, even though it was October. And it was wildly successful, and it was successful because of the hard work of these people right here, and because of all of the wonderful neighbors that we share this community with who donated their time, their money, their homes to let strangers walk through. For those of you who don't know, the home tour is the only fundraising component to the Eastwood Civic Association. So all of the events that we do, special projects, investments in the neighborhood, all of that comes from the revenue generated by the home tour. So it's hugely important to us. In celebration of our 25th anniversary, our committee, and then with board support, wanted to pay it forward a little bit deeper into our community. And we chose two local causes that are near and dear to Eastwood. to support with 25% of our net revenue. So we have two organizations here. I'd like to invite you both up here to say a little bit about what you do and what we're supporting. We have Barrio Dogs and then the East End Chamber Foundation. So whoever wants to go first, and then if you'll give us like maybe 30 seconds, minute kind of explanation of what these funds will do, and then we'll present you with a check.
Hello, everybody. My name is Frances Castner-Dyson. I am actually a proud resident. I grew up here in the East End in the Second Ward area, went to Our Lady Guadalupe Church and graduated from Milby High School. And it's an honor to be the president of the East End Chamber for the past 13 years. I'm here with my coworker, Carmen Beltran, who oversees our East End Chamber Foundation. And over the years, we have given students from the East End about $500,000 over the last 20 years to go to college. And so many of them, even today, are the first in their family to go. So these funds, when we got the call from Jenna, thank you so much, that we were being considered for this, we were so excited. And this year we had 7 valedictorians from the East End, from different schools here in the East End, receive a scholarship. And we also pair them with a mentor. And it's really important. So if you want to become a mentor to our program, please do so. So these funds are really going to stay here locally. And growing up here, I always felt that the East End was a small town within a big city. And I really truly believe it, because next time we say that we've done this, it's going to be all of you and us. So thank you so very much.
Evening, everyone. My name is Gloria Centeno, founder and president of Bylaw Dogs, and I'm also a native East Ender. My family goes back almost 100 years in Second Ward. I'm joined here by board member Lynn Rodriguez and also Frances. She's a board member as well. So we thank you. We're so grateful for this grant, and we've been working in the community for over nearly 14 years. Spay neuter education and community outreach is our core work. Spay and neuter is a big one, and that is what we're going to use the fund for our spay and neuter initiatives and our TNR work. We had a record year this year. We visited 12 schools and impacted almost 19,000 children in just 1 year. And then our spay and neuter initiatives, thanks to Councilmember Gallegos, we had a big year with our spay and neuter initiatives. So we just feel like that we need to keep doing the good work, and this will certainly help us. And so we truly, truly appreciate your generosity. Thank you for supporting Bylaw Dogs.
Thank you guys both. So I'll have y'all, I don't know what order they're in. Frances, you're on the end, and then Gloria, you're right there. So like I said, we donated 25% of our net revenue. And so we were able to give a gift of $1,500 to each organization. So hopefully we'll continue to take care of our animals on the streets here in the East End, and also be sending a nice scholarship to a local student and support their future. So thank you all for supporting the tour and helping us make this possible. Thank you guys for the work you do in our community every single day of the year. We are so grateful for you and my team. Yeah, just great.
Yeah, we're gonna keep she has
Okay, thanks everyone. As we get to do some of the fun stuff before some of the more complicated stuff. I'm gonna keep moving us along in the interest of time. There are kind of 2 voting pieces we have to get to today. The first is a bylaw amendment vote. If you scan this URL code, the code, you'll see all of the changes. They've been posted on our website since the last meeting. We went over them the last meeting as we presented them. There are on the first page, if you go on that link, you're going to see all of the changes that were proposed, 3 of which are what I would call material changes. The rest are things related to rewording for clarity or fixing a typo or an error in the bylaws. I want to go over the 3 pieces that are more material, and that is in relation to our election procedure, which we adjusted the language to allow more flexibility for how we vote, to reflect that for the first time in a very long time, based on institutional memory of the board, we have more people interested in seats on the board than we have seats on the board, which is amazing. but it means that a simple voice vote in the room is really hard to do when you have 9 candidates running for 6, and you select 6 of those. So it's hard to do a voice vote in that. So we've asked to add a ballot option. I will also say this reflects what we did last time we undertook a vote. It also removes a reference to an election committee, which we never had details on what that was. And so instead nominees are just proposed by the general membership like you did at our last meeting and through a form. And that just reflects the approaches that we have taken to date and has our bylaws updated to reflect them. So that's the first material change. The second is related to membership votes. Previously, membership was limited to 1 vote per household instead of 1 vote per member. So if you are in a household with multiple people in it who are a member of the civic association, you would only have 1 vote for the household. The problem we've encountered with that is we don't know how we could ever enforce that. I don't know who can stand there and tell me that my vote is okay, but the other person in my house isn't. I don't know how we resolve that. So our recommendation here is that this changes to 1 vote per member. So that can be a household, a property owner, or a business owner in the East End who is up to date on dues. And I know this is a little tricky this year because in the past several years, we haven't been charging dues. So if you live in the boundary, you're a member right now because your dues are 0. In the future, I suspect the next board will try to make this more manageable by having some sort of dues that are nominal, about $1 or something that will help us better track our engagement and who we're serving. But that will be the next board's decision to make. Then last piece that we added is a conflict of interest disclosure procedure for board members. This is just something that we felt was really important to have documented in our bylaws. Corbin's not here tonight, but he was instrumental behind putting this together and creating a disclosure form so that we can institutionalize some of those pieces. So those are the 3 material changes. I'll pause there and ask if there's, go back, if there's any questions, and I'm going to put the link back up if you want to bring them up. Any questions about these changes? Okay, for this vote, we require a 2/3 majority of people to approve them. So if you are in favor of these changes, can you please raise your hand? Okay, hands down. Opposition? Noting 1. Motion passes by majority. Sorry, let me actually just make sure here. Those of you who have joined virtually, if there's opposition, I'd ask that you unmute and just say something. I'm watching the mute buttons right now. Charla, I see that you unmuted.
Yeah, in favor, that's fine.
In favor, okay. Any opposition is what I was looking for on virtual. Okay, I'm seeing none, so motion passes. Here, okay, perfect, thank you. Now with that, we're gonna move on to board elections. So if you're in the room, when you checked in, your address should have been taken down, your information taken down, and you should have been given a paper ballot. Is there anyone who thinks they should have received a paper ballot that did not? I know probably the board members who are trying to run this. Lindsay and Aaron, go check in with Everett at the back for ballots, I think. Swati?
There's someone waiting online.
Okay,
Was that supposed to
thank
be
you.
me?
Was that Emily?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, then you should just watch the room. I've been mostly catching them. So you guys are gonna get to vote on your paper ballot. There's still people coming in. The people on Zoom, you're gonna have to wait until after you've heard the speeches for me to verify some information, and then you're going to get a link to vote. I'm gonna invite the candidates in order up here to speak for 2 minutes each. And then you will be able to submit your votes and we'll tally them. Leslie and I are going to work really hard on that, and hopefully we can have your results by the end of our train presentation. So with that, can I ask Catherine to come on up? And Catherine, you'll want to stand here so the Zoom folks can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Santa Maria. Thank you for the opportunity to run for this board seat. The strong and active Eastwood Civic Association is a highlight of our area, and my interest in serving on the ECA board is simple. I want to get more involved in neighborhood civic activities, enhance the great work already being done, advocate for residents, and spearhead initiatives that can help the Eastwood community grow. I'm a 13-year resident of Eastwood and Houston native. My background is in project management, and in my day jobs, I have led large and diverse groups to achieve common goals. That expertise, along with a lot of customer service work, makes me a great candidate for this board seat. I've managed large projects with thousands of dollars in funding and populist groups and succeeded in achieving outcomes for all. I've held positions in the past, such as president of my neighborhood political club and manager of my 350-person running club. All to say, I'm up to the task. Broadly, on the ECA board, I'd like to increase connection with our neighbors and the East End community. I'd like to support local small businesses and attract new ones to the benefit of the neighborhood. I'd like to grow civic engagement through voter registration and participation, and continue to make Eastwood the best place to live in Houston. Thank you for your consideration.
I'm gonna just speak briefly for Corbin. Late last night, Corbin asked to withdraw from the candidacy. He is for some personal reasons. I want to take the time to say a really big thank you to Corbin, who's an incumbent on our board, who has done instrumental work in getting us a website, maintaining that website, working through some of our bylaw pieces, engagement with trees. I really wish that wasn't coming up. This is the downside of trying to do both of these things at once. And you don't want me to go there either. Corbin expresses his sadness that he's not able to run, but we want to send our thoughts out with Corbin in a very challenging time right now. But if anyone knows Corbin, just please tell him he has the support of the board, and I really thank this membership for all that he has done up to this point. So keep that in mind on your written ballots, what this means for our absentee folks, as they didn't know that, and we've chosen to proceed anyway with that. With that, I'm going to bring Aaron up, and so Aaron, you have 2 minutes. I'll tap you if you go over.
I feel like most of you know me, and you just got to hear from me a little bit, so I'm going to be super brief. My name is Erin Locke. I have been a resident of Eastwood for about 9 years. My husband and I live here, and my mom lives here as well. It's not just our neighborhood, it is our home. I have been chairing the Eastwood Home Tour since 2016, 1 year after I moved into the neighborhood. Somehow Kevin Moore suckered me into chairing the event when I offered to help, and I've been doing it ever since. I professionally work in the nonprofit sector. I have worked with my organization, the Periwinkle Foundation, for 15 years. My roles there include, I'm director of community engagement, so I oversee all of our volunteer initiatives, as well as our arts and medicine program at Texas Children's Cancer Center. Through my tenure at the Periwinkle Foundation, I've learned a lot about working with the community, working with other volunteers, leading committees. I'm so fortunate to lead my committee, the Home Tour, who I think are some of the best and the brightest. And I'm really passionate about developing a culture within our board and within our committees that is inclusive and fosters great teamwork and support of each other. Because I think even when we don't agree, the only way to make progress together is to work together and come to the table. Some of the other things that I bring, I think, to the board, some of my special skill sets through my professional work is graphic design, as well as some communications expertise that I bring. And then again, like I said, leading volunteers. So I'm not going to ramble anymore. I guess I will just say thank you all for the time that I've been able to spend on the board, and I hope to look forward to many more years. And I did almost use 2 minutes. Sorry.
Thanks, Erin. I'm gonna bring Kyle over now. Kyle, you have 2 minutes. And actually, before I start this timer, someone asked, the mic isn't working, it sounds like, maybe. Stand by. There we go.
Okay. Is that better? Okay, hello, my name is Kyle Rogers. I have been the secretary of the Eastwood Civic Association for the past 2 years. That has mostly meant taking the minutes and trying to post them online. That was my goal when I became the secretary, was just to get the minutes online, and I was able to, with the help of Paulette, who is not here, I was able to do that. So I consider that a success. Other than that, I have launched the new neighborhood newsletter. I don't know if everybody has gotten it. There's still a lot of kinks to work out on delivery, but there are 3 issues of it for 2023. I'm hoping for 3 more in 2024. I'm also the chair of the communications committee. I am not a communications specialist. I've just stepped in because I knew that we needed somebody to start, answering the email timely and running our social media, which has been quite a bit of work. So if you want me to keep doing that, I'm stepping down as secretary, but hoping to continue on as a board member. So thank you.
Okay, Matthew is joining us virtually. So Matthew, give me a second to make sure everyone can hear you okay. Usually. Smart. 12 months, finally figured it out. Matthew, can you, sorry, I made a joke and I thought it was funny. Can you share about your candidacy? You have 2 minutes and I will stop you if you go over.
Okay, perfect. I'm not sure if y'all can see me, but for those of you that I haven't met before, my name is Matthew Donovan. I'm sorry I could not be there in person with y'all, especially because I'm missing out on all of the cookies. But I'm currently in Colorado on a little ski trip. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I have lived in the East End for about a decade. Originally, I lived right off of Navigation, and back in 2018, I bought a house in Eastwood. And when I bought that house in Eastwood, I didn't really know what to expect in the neighborhood. I knew I loved the East End, but over the course of renovating my house and getting settled and meeting all of my neighbors, I just realized what a special melting pot that the Eastwood area is. And I've been just enamored by my neighbors and the community, and it's just been such a wonderful experience. And I think we can kind of all agree that after COVID and the pandemic, the value of our home and the value of community just became even more important. And it's been fun to be a part of that community. So some of you may have actually walked through my house back in 2019 when it was under construction, when I was on the home tour. And I'm looking forward to being on the home tour soon to see the finished product. The reason why I decided to go for this board position is because one of the things I realized is kind of change starts small and change starts local. And I think it's so important that we all have an interest in the community that we're a part of. And I think one of the things that really rallied me up was seeing how Danielle and the board and the community really rallied to go after and support what our needs are when we were working with Metro on the bus rapid transit. So seeing the enthusiasm, seeing a dozen people at the Metro board meeting advocating for ourselves, advocating for the community, just really made me proud to be a part of the community. And I'm really looking forward to continuing that effort as part of the board. So thank you for considering me.
Thank you, Matthew. I take this back up here. Sarah, you were in the room earlier. Sarah, come on up. Sorry. Come on over and introduce yourself. You'll have 2 minutes and I'll tap you if you go over it.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so I hope I can get through. My name is Sarah Gutierrez. I have been in this neighborhood my whole life, and I am generations and generations, living here. Before we got our house on Rusk, we lived right by Ripley House. And before that, my grandmother even was in Clayton Homes for a while right after the war when my grandfather died. So being here through the years, I've come to some of the meetings and I didn't really feel, some of the issues, that were important to me. And now with the Metro, you know, having energized me to get more involved in the community. And as I've been going out and talking to more and more of our neighbors about not letting Metro do what they're planning to do, I told them that I was going to speak on all of our behalves and speaking more of for the people that have been here for a really long time. I just, the other day, was lucky enough to celebrate my 60th birthday. So hopefully I'll have more and I'll be more and more involved as the time goes on. So my background is in structural engineering. I usually do petrochem, but I've also done buildings and bridges and telecommunications towers and anything with steel. So right now I'm working from home, and so I can give myself some time, but hopefully, you know, I can get more and more involved as soon as I get over this cold. And I want to thank the board that has been keeping the ECA alive all these years. And I apologize for not doing more in the past, but I'm here now. So hopefully you'll allow me to represent, you know, the old school people here in East End. And I hope I represent with pride. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thomas, can you join us? Thank you. No one's seen him tonight, have they? Okay, no Thomas tonight, unless, no, he's not on virtually. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I missed Sylvia. Sylvia, please come on up. We'll have 2 minutes. I'll tap you if you go over.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Sylvia Montalvo. I've been living in Houston, well, in Eastwood for 61 years. I think, well, let's put it this way. I'm kind of nervous right now because I've never spoken in front of a large people here. I just want to say that I'm bilingual. I have computer skills. I've had them for like more than 10 years. I also have marketing and social media. And I think I can make a difference being some director here. I'm going to make it real short because I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really hard to get up here, guys. Like, I've been doing this for 2 months. It is really hard to get up here in front of all of these people. So we said no, Thomas, Tina, come on up. Minutes time right there.
Okay,
Microphone.
thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Tina Brady and I live in Eastwood. My background is as a PMI certified project management professional, and I've been implementing ERP software since 1992. So I do have long years of project management experience. I've been here in this community for 7 years, but Houston most of my life, and I'm born in Texas. So I'm Texas born and bred. On August the 7th, I was voted to the ECA board to serve the remaining months of a vacated board seat. And then the ECA board voted me in as the chair of the Metro BRT committee. And that committee has worked under the mandate that we gather community opinions before taking action on behalf of the membership. So we are guided by that principle. And along those lines, the opinion poll that I think everyone here is probably aware of has 2 major goals. One of them is to inform you all of the Metro BRT plan that is as we currently understand it, and that changes over time, but as we understand it time over time, and to get your feedback. So at this point, just according to the poll, 81% of our community is opposed to the BRT on Lockwood and 19% is in favor of a BRT on Lockwood, for what that's worth. Over the past few months, the committee and the community have pressed Metro for consistent and accurate updates about the BRT project. And now, just relatively recently, we are beginning to receive them. As a matter of fact, you may have heard just recently that the project has won the NEPA approval. So they did get their categorical exclusion. So we move forward. The committee's next steps are to collaborate with the community, so with all of you and you online, and with Metro to ensure the underpass is implemented to the best possible interest of our community, and just to hold them to that, to a standard. What? Oh, shit, sorry. Okay, today Eastwood faces challenges directly affecting the backyards and front yards, and we need to advocate for ourselves. Hence, Lindsay, thank you so much for advocating with respect to the Union Pacific trains that are right in your front porch. So thank you for that. I'd like us to all get together in that aspect and make sure that we continue to fight for our community, because if we don't, no one will. And I'd like to encourage us to vote in people who are lifelong residents of our neighborhood. If we don't, then that's where gentrification does start. So thank you.
Okay, those are all of our candidates present. So again, is there anyone who expected to have a ballot in person that does not? Amazing, my check-in folks, you rock. If there's one person on the call who I've reached out to who hasn't sent information for me to provide you a ballot, I think everyone else does. If you don't, please put it in the chat box and we'll look at that. I am realizing, is Clay still here somewhere? When we did this in August, where did we put the ballots?
Where was it? Oh yeah, Cole, give me your bucket.
Teamwork. Please, as you finish your ballots, bring them to the back of the room. I think that will be less disruptive. We can try to circulate as well your ballots there, and Leslie and I, who are not on the ballot, are going to go out and count those in-person ones. Pardon me? Yes, there was a pack of pens somewhere. Everett has pens. Does anyone need a pen? Okay, we'll give a few minutes to distribute some pens. I'm gonna be. Okay. I'm gonna go count some ballots. You're on your own.
Everybody. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh,
Take your picture.
Okay,
Please take your photo. We're gonna take photos first, and then we're gonna talk about our favorite subject.
We'll be really fast.
Just take notes.
Okay. Let me get out of the back.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of the back of the photo. Okay. All right, so we're gonna talk about our favorite subject while we're going through votes, which is, oh, yeah. We're gonna take a picture for another picture real quick. It's up to you. But this is our favorite subject in the East End, trains. Councilmember Gallego's favorite subject. Okay.
I think you're good now.
Okay. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you for bringing us up.
Okay, so what we're gonna walk through today is looking at what the Trains Committee does, who we are, talking about the train stops and the numbers, what the train problems are, where the lines are, why they stop, quiet zones, understanding the right-of-way cleanups, projects in the East End for trains, and what residents can do to help. So it's quite a bit of information, and this is because it's a lot of people in the East End who don't fully understand like the complexity of the trains. And so we thought it would be a good idea to just kind of walk through what the train committee does, because can be a little bit complicated. So before we get started, I think it's important to just realize that the trains in the East End have a very long history, and I know Councilmember Gallegos can attest to that. So our goal today really is not to complain about the trains, because I think everybody here has a train story, has a horrific train story, but just to share facts, understand the locations, the roles that we play, and alleviating the trains issue is a long haul project. It's not something that we're going to be able to take away tomorrow, even in the next year. This is a long-term project that we need to work together on as a community, with city council, with our federal legislators. This is a big deal. So we're going to walk through this together. So the Trains Committee is something that I came in, I knew this coming into Eastwood, and I came into our board and I said, hey, I want to work on the trains. So our members are Danielle, Clay, Paulette, Kyle, and Wilson. And so whenever I came in, Danielle, Paulette, Kyle immediately raised their hands and said that they wanted to help. And once Clay and Wilson realized what we were doing, they decided that they wanted to jump in and help as well. Oop, got another member. So the Trains Committee formed in January 2022, and we're really, really busy on the back end. And so the Trains Committee is really, really busy, and then we have to wait for a period of time for things to happen, for other things to happen, like council to happen, for the Union Pacific to respond, to East End to respond. And some of our main accomplishments have been able to prove to the East that the East End is the worst in the United States for rail congestion with our rail data. This was something that Councilmember Gallegos knew, Sylvia Garcia knew, everybody kind of knew, but we were able to use our data to prove this to the FRA. And we were able to get a lot of assistance after we were able to prove this. We helped provide data and life stories to obtain BIL grant, to obtain the BIL grant funding to close a funding gap for the Westbelt project. And we were a part of the press conference. We've been quoted in the US Congress as an authority in trains in the East End. We have successfully had FRA inspectors reassigned to our area full-time. We successfully got trains as a part of the 2023 mayoral and city council election as an issue through our candidate forum. And actually, the Houston Chronicle had just quoted this morning that the Eastwood residents are repeatedly talking about this as an issue. So we are continuing to be talked about with the trains. So very excited about that. And we've educated and building allies with our incoming council members on trains. So this means that our new council coming in has already been educated about the trains issue. So the list continues because we're busy. We're founding members of the East End Rail Safety Task Force. We have gone to city council at least 6 times. We go to the Gulf Coast Rail District at least 6 times. I'm a regular speaker at the Gulf Coast Rail District. We've created collaborative relationship with railroads, federal officials, Federal Railroad Administration, city officials, and have several important committees such as the East End District, the Gulf Coast Rail District, and the newly formed HART. So we've been a part of dozens of media stories, radio stories, TV, newspapers, and even have a mention in The Guardian, which is a newspaper in the UK. So we've attended the Federal Railroad Administration conference, which is usually reserved for government officials to look for solutions on blockages and safety. So this is something that our Trains Committee has been a part of, and the list continues. Joaquin Martinez is our incoming District I council member, recently shared that our district could not get any movement on trains until our committee was formed. And Sally Alcorn, our at-large position 5, has shared that our committee is the most well-researched, solution-driven, and thoroughly prepared, and she enjoys working with us. So
So the vision for 2024 is to continue working on block crossings and reducing the train horn noise with the trains. And we knew, again, this is a long haul project. So some of the actions we're going to take is we were going to work with the new city council to create a comprehensive plan for the East End, which includes cars, trains, and pedestrian pathways, pushing quiet zones to completion, continue work with the East End District Rail Safety Task Force, emphasize the impact the trains have on the community to the East End District, City of Houston, and Federal Railroad Administration, and advocate against operating practices which will increase train lengths and blockages in Houston. Advocate for grade separations for cars, pedestrians, bikes throughout with the Gulf Coast Rail Districts, and advocate for safe passages around stopped trains. So that is our mission as the Trains Committee for 2024. So it's a big chunk, a big list, but I think that we're pretty up for it. We love doing this work. I'm very flexible in my job, and I'm able to go to these meetings, and I will continue to do so as we continue in 2024. So the numbers, very fun. Our committee is blessed with one member who was so fed up with the stopped trains that she took matters into her own hands, put a security camera up on the trains. And each morning, she writes down the start and stop times of every train that stops on the Eastwood and Galveston sub. And because of this, we're able to make waves. And unfortunately, she's out of the country, but for our very own Paulette Cuckoo, is the resident who takes the time to write this down. So the next time you see her, you need to make sure you give her a big thank you. So 2022 was not a good year for train stops on the Galveston sub, as you know, and the Galveston sub is the line that runs along Harrisburg. So 33% of the trains which came through on the Galveston sub stopped for more than 10 minutes. And the average length of time for a stop train was for more than an hour. This is our spreadsheet that we keep. We have we have 2 years of data at this point. And we send this to the FRA, we send this to lots of different people, and we report like crazy to everybody. So in 2023, we were starting to see improvements on the Galveston sub as we worked with the East End Rail Safety Task Force, collaborating with the railroads. Some of the changes they made included testing shorter trains, not entering the Houston complex until they had a clear path through. And unfortunately, starting in October, we started seeing slip backs into 2022 patterns. And our suspicion is this is related to Union Pacific's leadership change and to promise to fully implement what they call PSR, which is Precision Scheduled Railroading. So we'll go into a little bit of that in just a little bit. So gathering data on the Galveston sub has given our civic association, excuse me, get a drink, leverage in a number of areas, but most importantly, we were able to establish a real problem by showing the facts and the data, backed by the security footage. Everyone, again, we all knew it was a problem. I mean, we all know that this is a problem, but no one could really effectively prove this. So we were able to report this on the FRA's website, because if y'all notice, when you come up to a train stop, those little blue things that say report, those go to Union Pacific. Those don't go to the FRA, and the FRA is the one that has the power to actually do something about it. So we were able to report it to the FRA's website and show that the East End of Houston is the worst in the United States in terms of freight rail congestion. Chicago went to Congress and said, we don't want to be like Houston. Oh. So we gathered so much attention and got 2 town halls with the FRA administrator within 6 months. We were told later that this was unprecedented. So we helped the city of Houston with their pilot smart sensor program to gather similar data across the East End, which cities nationwide are watching and are implementing as they fight the same blocked train issue, because this is not isolated to Houston. This is across the nation. So why do the trains stop? It's probably the biggest question that we hear all of the time. We are in this triangle here, as we all know. We all have heard about this triangle. We are in this triangle between 2 Union Pacific lines and 1 BNSF line. I know I was hedging my bets that this was going to be a lot clearer on this big screen. So I apologize. The line parallel to Harrisburg is the Galveston sub, managed by Union Pacific. The diagonal line from the University of Houston towards downtown is the West Belt. It is jointly managed by BNSF and Union Pacific. So coming up to the Old South Yard, and the Old South Yard is at University of Houston. South of that is BNSF. North of that is Union Pacific. The East Belt comes off the West Belt in McCaw, runs through the neighborhood across Telephone to Polk Street and across Buffalo Bayou. It is managed by Union Pacific. These are important for whenever you're seeing the different locomotives running through, who's managing trackage rights, these types of things. When the West Belt is running, the Galveston train traffic is stopped. If the train is too long, it will block the East Belt. So you can, I wish that this was a little bit, so up here, the Galveston sub and the West Belt actually combine on the same line. So if the line is too long, it will stop the other line from running. That's why if the West Belt is running, it will prevent the other line from running. In addition, if the trains need to do work at Congress Yard, which is over there, I know that y'all have seen it many, many times. It's over there by the Dynamo Stadium. If there's lines there that need to do it and they have to come in and back into the yard, it's going to stop the West Belt. If they build trains, and there's also just, this isn't on here, but do y'all probably see them go back and forth on the West Belt? They build trains out of the Old South Yard, so you'll see them go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you'll see further up the line is Tower 26 with the terminal line from the Heights. That's the one that runs alongside Washington, combines with the West Belt. There's traffic on the terminal line. The West Belt train traffic must yield to that line. That one takes precedence. And the terminal line is where the Canadian Pacific KCS traffic is going to be coming. So as long as that one has increased traffic, the West Belt is going to be impacted, and ultimately so is the Galveston sub. On the east side, if the North Yard is busy, it will prevent the East Belt traffic from moving. So if the Inglewood train traffic may cause the East Belt trains to stop at Tower 87, given to clearance to proceed. Whoops. If the East Belt train traffic can't move, it impacts the Galveston sub in Eastwood and Idlewood. And in some cases, the West Belt could also be impacted, just depending on how long the train is. So, is that clear as mud? Yeah. It has to, that one just takes precedence with the way that that one is running, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting pushed through and we're not. They just have to yield on that specific line. So.
Are you going to give us this presentation later on?
I mean, if you want it, you can have it. I mean, it's like 50 slides long, but if you want it. Sure. Yes. This is yes, there's a lot of information here, and I realize that when you don't know why the trains are stopping, it's very frustrating. And so when you see why and you can see the complexity of it, it's hopefully helpful, but there's a lot, trust me, there's a lot more. Sure. We're about to go through quiet zones, I promise. All right, so other factors impacting train stops. The train links in PSR, the precision schedule railroading, people and cars on the tracks, crew timeouts, engine breakdowns, safety hazards, and derailments. So train links in PSR, the railroads are moving towards longer trains to improve their bottom line. They have a fiduciary responsibility to make money for their shareholders, and this means longer trains, less crew, more profit. So people and cars on tracks, when there are cars and people reported on the tracks, the locomotive engineer has to get out and walk the length of the train for safety reasons. You can imagine when these trains are 11,000 feet long, that is quite the trek. So everybody says just cross over anyway, that's what you're looking at. So this causes further delay. Crew timeouts, if the crew reaches their maximum hour threshold, similar to the airline, they have to wait for another crew to be brought over to take over that locomotive. Longer trains means that a stop train blocks more intersections at once. Fewer crew means inspections required to get restarted take longer. And just recently, Union Pacific announced that they are laying off 1,000 people for maintenance. So this is what this means. They are moving towards this and they are bringing in longer trains. 3-mile trains are coming through Houston late at night. So this is happening and we need to know about this. So common myths of stop trains. These are important for us to know just because this does impact our daily lives. Everybody seems to think trains cannot stop for more than 10 minutes. That's a myth. There is no rule. The railroads, that is their right of way. There are no rules as of right now. The trains can stop as long as they want because that line is their road. There are no laws against it. The track's their right of way. The city can, and there's a myth that the city can somehow cite the railroads for stopping and blocking roads. That is also a myth. The tracks are their right of way. They are protected by the Interstate Commerce Act of 1896. Very reasonable. The cities have tried to enact their own ordinances, including the city of Houston, which have been challenged by the railroads very effectively. The railroads have the most powerful lobby in the United States. These cases are making their way through the court systems, and I imagine are going to make it to the Supreme Court very soon. So the role of the Federal Railroad Administration. It was created by the Department of Transportation. I copied this from Wikipedia. You can go read about it. I just was like, I don't even know how to explain it, but what does this mean for us, more importantly? The data collected by the block crossings, everybody has seen these signs on here. Union Pacific will tell you until they are blue in the face to report to that number, don't. I can't tell you how many times I've been hung up on this number. I'm sure everybody has. What you want to do is you want to report to the FRA, and please don't call that number. I don't know how often, I don't know if Union Pacific is actually reporting this number to the FRA. You want to call the FRA because that will keep the attention on us. That's what we want. We want the FRA to know that this is a problem because this will help people like Councilmember Gallegos. It will help Sylvia Garcia continue to say this, we are a problem. You need to look at us. You need to stay here. And to help you, you can scan this QR code, which will give you a link to the FRA's portal. And it will take your location, and it's really easy to bookmark. It will give you just a real quick, easy thing that you can just fill out that form in 2 seconds. And and if you're driving, that's fine. You can report the last 7 days. So save this link. It shows the FRA that they're still blocking our intersections. They will keep the inspectors here in the area watching our railroads. And it will show the city of Houston that we need continued support in the East End when it comes to getting around the railroad infrastructure, more than just cars, because we need safe passages for the kids to come to Land Trip. Kids should not be crawling through trains to get to Land Trip. I can't express that enough. And if we continue to report to the FRA, it keeps the attention here. So you can give y'all a minute to scan this lovely. I'm very passionate about this. I don't know if y'all can tell.
Well, the law firm scanning that, you said Paulette manually records each train with the train. Do we have access to that already data?
They won't. I have tried and tried and tried to get this. We might be able to, you might be able to FOIA it, but I don't want to do that. I know that the Eastern District gets it. And I think that you might be able, there might be ways to get it, but I just know that it's. I know the East End District is getting it, and I'm on the East End District Rail Safety Task Force, so I'm okay with that. And I can confirm that we are actively being, our area is reporting it. And so I'm okay with that. As long as the community is reporting, I'm okay with that. All right, cool. So quiet zones. I'm sure everybody's really going to be perked up on the edge of their seats now. So a quiet zone is a section of the rail line at least 1/2 mile in length that contains one or more grade crossing, that the horns are not routinely sounded. But it's important to understand that that does not mean perfectly silent. The trains will still sound their horns if there's a car or person on the tracks, if a train is approaching a yard, or if they need to alert the staff that they're incoming to this yard and maybe another train is not moving. If a railroad crossing arms are up or otherwise non-functioning, or if there's an emergency. So sometimes you will hear areas where there are quiet zones and people are complaining that train is blowing its horn. That's because they're not perfectly silent. They're just quieter, right? So that's just something to keep in mind, you know, so we have to be realistic about this. But yes, a quieter zone would still be a relief from what we have today. So quiet zones are not an easy implementation. They are a cross coordination between the City of Houston, Federal Railroad Administration, and the railroad that owns the trackage rights. Remember, we talked about this, Union Pacific, BNSF, all of this. So on average, it can take 2 to 5 years for a quiet zone to be completed after the initial request from the community has been submitted. Unfortunately, ours have taken 10+ years, but the simplified process is community request comes in, the city council approves the budget at each intersection, which can be roughly 130 to 300,000 per intersection. Plans need to be drawn up and approved by the FRA, Railroad, and City of Houston. The non-railroad line infrastructure improvements are completed by the City of Houston. Then Union Pacific is notified for railroad infrastructure improvements on their own, which would be the sign, you know, what they need to do. The FRA comes out for inspection and sign off, and if approved, Union Pacific, in most cases, applies the no horn sign. This is a very large endeavor. And I will tell you that the plans that need to be drawn up and approved by the FRA, Railroad, and City of Houston, that's where a lot of concessions are likely made. The railroad can come, remember I told you the railroads are extremely powerful. They can come back to the City of Houston and say, you need to add all of these things at your cost. We don't know what all of those things could be. Sometimes it could be adding new lines, sometimes it could be adding double lines, sometimes it could be whatever the case is. And unfortunately, they do that and they can hold the City of Houston and the residents hostage to get that quiet zone. So that is what happens. So I'm sorry? They won't approve the plans for the quiet zone for the City of Houston to come, they won't approve the plans until they get what they want. That is a very common tactic. They do that across the United States because the railroads are that powerful.
And what does it mean to apply the no horn sign?
They put up a sign that says no horn.
Is that what notifies the, you know, the engineer and the sign?
It's literally a sign that says no horn. Yes. I'm sorry, say that again. We'll go through like where each one is. There's different like designated zones that are already outlined. And we're going to show you which state that each one is in. I'm telling you, I'm trying to be extremely thorough here. So where are the zones now? The Galveston sub, remember this is the one that runs along Harrisburg. This is known as Easton 3. I don't know, Councilmember Gallegos, you might know why they're known as Easton 1, 2, and 3, but that's this one is Easton 3. The West Belt, this is the diagonal one, is known as Easton 2. The East Belt is known as Easton 1. And we try to keep the specific line names together as the quiet zone names. I'll tell you right now, even I get confused and I call them all kinds of things, so I apologize. It's confusing for me, so I can't imagine if you're just coming into this the first time, it can be just as confusing. So there's my little arrows that I forgot to click. East Belt, quiet East End 1, that's the East Belt, is mostly complete. So there are a few intersections along this line that are not complete, but it's mostly there. East End 2, that is the West Belt. That's the diagonal one that comes by U of H across Leland Polk, all of that, that it was likely going to be covered with the West Belt project. And this will create a sealed 9,000-foot corridor between Leland and Commerce Street, and this is targeted to begin in 2027. But these types of projects, as you know, take a long time. So that's going to be a very large project, but that's going to create a quiet zone there. Galveston Sub, East End 3, close but no cigar. This is the one that I'm sure most of you are waiting on right now. The infrastructure has been put in place by the city of Houston. However, there are changes requested by the FRA in order to pass and obtain that no horn sign. And there's a question about who's to pay for those changes, and there's a quest for council action. I'm sorry, Robert Gallegos, I'm putting you on the spot on that, but there is so supposed to be coming to fast track those changes and get those changes made to complete the request timeline to be determined. So I've been pushing on Mr. Joaquin about this almost every week, and we have a meeting coming up with him next month or next week, hopefully, where we can start to plan out when we can get that quiet zone completed. So that is in the works because that one is the closest one to be completed and will provide quite a bit of relief for the area. So right-of-way cleanup. The railroads unfortunately have a state of leaving their right-of-ways in a very unkept way. This is, again, it's just a reminder, it is against the law to dump garbage or refuse in the railroad right-of-way. I don't think anybody here is doing this. I'm just making sure that we all know this. I can't imagine any of y'all are taking mattresses and dumping them on the train tracks. that just doesn't seem like anybody my neighbors are doing. It's also illegal to be in the railroad right-of-way to be in the railroad right-of-way. I mean, you're walking across, it's one thing, but to clean up, mow, plant gardens or trees, it's actually illegal to do that. The railroads have the right to take anything down that has been planted in their right-of-way, and they are starting to crack down on trespassing in their right-of-way, citing safety concerns. This was something that they did talk about in their conference. If you do find that they are, their right-of-way needs to be addressed, report to 3112 Creative Record. They're most likely going to close it, telling you to report to, Union Pacific. But you can create a record on their website. But if you do receive no response, you can actually escalate that to us. We can take it directly to the Eastern Rail Safety Task Force, to the railroads, and get that escalated through them.
How do we escalate it to us?
You send it to me, and I will. You can go through the Civic Association, I promise. I will. The last one took about 5 days, which is lightning speed for the railroads. I can't promise it'll be perfectly manicured, but it will at least be mowed. So we do the best we can, but you can't really boss Union Pacific around. Yep. So in terms of projects that are happening in the area, the HGAC predicts freight train traffic to increase by 200+% by 2050. And the West Belt, I don't know if y'all know this, the Galveston Sub probably has somewhere between 10 to 15 trains per day. The West Belt has somewhere closer to 70 trains per day. I don't know if y'all knew that. So I work from home. There'll be a train every 10 minutes some days. It's pretty fun. So 2050 is only 25 years from now. And infrastructure projects take quite a bit of time to design and implement. So a single grade separation project can take 5 years to implement, after being funded. So right now, the Gulf Coast Rail District has identified priority intersections that are focused on getting grade separations through federal funding. This includes Telephone Road at the East Belt, Polk at the East Belt, Leland Cullen at the West Belt, Broadway by the Ship Channel, Lawndale at the East Belt Galveston Sub, and Lockwood, obviously, through however means this is going to be. It is a priority intersection. I don't know which order of operations this is. This is just a list. So I'm just letting y'all know, I see a hand raised.
Yeah, what is the grade separation? What does that mean?
Either overpass or underpass. So at grade is when you cross over in your cart, you touch the rails. Yep. Hmm? Sure.
So, because in the long term, never But the fact that we have like three grade separations up to the north, to the west of it, it just kind of all of a sudden, yeah, we don't do this, so doesn't that give us some hope, maybe on the line?
There are quite a few that are now starting to pop up, and I'm telling you now that I sit in those meetings and I hammer them saying, you're not thinking about us, you're not thinking about us, you're not thinking about us, and I make sure that they're thinking about us. I'm definitely that squeaky wheel that's in there saying you're not thinking about us enough. So I don't know if that's helping. I'm hoping that it does, but I come in with our data and I remind them of this. And I'm hoping that it's also helping Councilmember Gallegos say, I've got this train lady that's breathing down my neck. Help me with her. So, yeah, what's up? It's an entity that they cover everything from Beaumont, I think, down to Corpus Christi. They kind of cover all of this. They cover several counties. I don't know the best description of it, but they cover kind of the whole region. There's several different judges and they're appointed by, you might be able to better explain the Gulf Coast. East Galveston Area Council.
HGAC.
Oh,
Is that on the ground?
yes.
Do you guys anticipate that things are gonna be better?
Yes.
Is that?
Yes. I believe that with Prop B, it's going to help the trains significantly.
So this is not a road themselves. Yes, but they have zero funding.
Yeah. Yes. And there's lots of different, there's a lot of areas that you can get funding. There's Creasy funding, there's BIL funding, there's lots of different grants out there. But the thing is I'm getting way off track, but you have to have like a plan. Like you have to have like a plan already in place for there to pull, like you say, hey, there's a grant opportunity. Let's pull this plan and implement this plan. Right now there's not a lot of plan. The West Belt project was already in place. So it was easy for the city of Houston to say, okay, let's use this BIL funding. Let's go for this grant and apply for this West Belt project that Gulf Coast Rail District already had in place. And that's what they're working on. Lots of questions. Paul. Bipartisan infrastructure law. That was, sorry, I'm sorry, thank you. The bipartisan infrastructure law, the Biden administration passed this law with $3 trillion. Several of it, $1 trillion of it went specifically for transportation improvements. So it could be spread across for grade. I see a lot of it was for grade separations, but each year it was billions of dollars being just passed out for these types of projects. What's up?
So for the funding for the plans, does that typically still happen from the city, like the initial planning money? Is that something that the city specifically handles, or are we even going out for grants for that?
We're going after grants for that too.
Okay.
Like the Easton District has some, TxDOT's doing some. There's lots of different projects out there right now. There's several studies going on right now.
Do they all?
I don't think so. At this point, I'm just glad somebody is studying us. So we'll see what happens from it. The West Belt project is probably the biggest one that people have heard about. I'm not going to go, I've already gone, ton of time here, but the West Belt project is the biggest. It's starting to take shape. It's a 2-phase project. This is the first phase. It was originally created by the Gulf Coast Rail District in 2012. It includes an underpass at York, going underneath both the West Belt and the Galveston sub. This is probably going to be the biggest thing. It includes a bike and pedestrian pathways under the rail lines at York, an underpass at the rail at Commerce Street at Navigation, a quiet zone between Leland and Commerce Street. However, as it is currently planned, it means combining Sampson with York, closing Milby at the West Belt, closing McKinney at the West Belt, and eventually there is a plan for a bike pedestrian bridge across the underpass at McKinney. So these are all being planned out right now. So we're like, this is just a,
When you provide this presentation, the reason I think it helped for me is because it'll be great when I can see that map, those maps that's put in there, and I can put a spot with what is each.
it's a lot of information. I realize this is like, I'm just dumping everything onto everybody here, but I'm really happy that everybody seems to, y'all are keeping up really well, all things considered. So this is from the Let's Talk Houston. As of right now, this project is slated to begin in 2027. It extends further into Second Ward, but you can see like this is the part that really impacts us. You can see it's several miles long. It's a huge project. And like right here at Sampson and York, they are going to combine into one road. So that the underpass will go underneath those two rail lines. So at that point, you will be able to go underneath those two lines. So what happens next from here? City of Houston is reviewing and updating the plans. We aren't sure what it'll look like at this point. That was based off of the old plans, what we had. So when they have the new plans, I'm sure that we're going to see them based on our proximity to the project. And if you want to read about it, you can go to the Engage Houston Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant. Read about it from there, provide feedback if you so choose. But I will tell you that the plans are not, they're not updated yet. So I would wait until the actual updated plans come out first. And then of course, what can you do to help? You know, report all your blockages that you see. Anytime you see it, last 7 days, I would definitely report it as often as you can. Anytime you see it, I'm telling you, it helps you. It helps so much. If you're driving home, just as soon as you get home safely, report it to the FRA. It helps keep the attention on us. We are starting to collect voices on the quiet zones. So reaching out to your council member, realize he's right here. So, just to let you know that, let our council member know that, we do want our quiet zones completed in full. If you want to help the language, we do have language that we can help provide for that. And we do want a comprehensive railroad plan in the East End. When they do these studies, a lot of times they don't look at the rail infrastructure, they just look at the roads. Telephone Road, that project did not look at the rail infrastructure. So now they're going to build this wonderful, beautiful, walkable project, and then they're going to be stopped by the train. So so many areas in the city have plans which outline possibilities for improvement, and this allows them to apply for grants quickly, and they come up and apply, making progress. The East End doesn't have this comprehensive plan nor a study which incorporates our complicated relationship with the trains. And we have requested this from the city of Houston, but we haven't seen it yet. So we want this. And I think that we should be able to get this. And I think that with our collective voices, we should be able to get it. And I am definitely going to fight for this, for not just Eastwood, but for all of the East End, because I think that we deserve this as residents here. So, any questions?
I have a question. So Quiet Zone 2, that's Westbelt, correct?
No, yes, that's Westbelt, yes.
Okay, so the Quiet Zone project for 2 goes from Leland to Commerce,
Yes.
according to that slide.
Mm-hmm.
Why doesn't it go to Cullen? Because Cullen is one crossing further, and it kind of defeats the purpose if they're gonna blow their horn there and then just say, oh, like 200 feet later, they have to stop.
Because it's not meant to be a quiet zone project. It's meant to create a sealed corridor.
This is for
the Westbelt.
Okay, it's not a quiet zone project, it's a corridor.
It's a corridor project.
And that's where they're gonna build an underpass on York.
There is a
And they're gonna close McKinney and they're gonna close Mill.
yes.
Okay.
And there is work to finish out that quiet zone. We're trying to get funding to finish the quiet zone at Cullen. We just haven't secured it yet.
Microphone.
Oh, there's work to secure the funding to get the quiet zone at Cullen. We just haven't secured the funding yet to get that quiet zone at Cullen.
If you want to get involved, how do we get involved?
You want to get involved, you can email the Eastwood Civic Association at info@eastwoodcivicassociation.org.
That's right. One more time.
info@eastwoodcivicassociation.org. Those are
Yeah. Looking at it from the railroad perspective, they lose money when the trains stop. Why don't they take English to?
they don't lose money.
How?
They still get money from their contracts. They still get money from their contracts and they budget money for fines. So even if they do get fines, they have money for that. It's no big deal for them. So there's no incentive for them to not block, and there's no incentive for them to move, and there's no incentive for them to stop their practices right now. As far as I know. Cool. All right. I hope that was helpful. And just so that y'all know, I think we put this on social media. Union Pacific is doing a railroad crossing, like they're working on some of the crossings. I'm sure that y'all have seen that. Some of the railroad crossing arms were malfunctioning. We raised a little bit of a stink, yours truly. So they are doing some maintenance to hopefully fix that so that, you know, we already have enough of the train stops. We don't need to have malfunctioning signals on top of it. So they are going to be occasionally closing the intersections at those crossings so that they can hopefully fix those for us. So you might, yeah.
Closings will not be.
They shouldn't be, no. They should be just like intermittent as they work on the signals. Yes. Cool. Got it.
I say stretch, they are.
Oh.
We have about another minute.
Well, that's okay. I think that there's a metro update. I don't know if that's you, Tina. Did you have it?
Well, the biggest metro update really is.
Come over here to the microphone.
The biggest metro update is that a major milestone has been achieved with the metro project on, it was November 23rd. They did get the authorization from the FTA. They have a categorical exclusion to the environmental aspects. So they've been given the go ahead. They do have right now under review, under analysis, a plan for a larger underpass to take place. It would include not only the buses and the pedestrians that it has now, but in addition to that, cars and bikes and everything. So a multimodal underpass then. Their challenges there are just to make sure that they can do it within the given 100-foot right-of-way that they have right now. In addition to that, since they had given us information on a on possibility of flooding affecting our area, they're using what they call a force drain. They're analyzing the potential for use of a force drain to shoot any floodwaters that might tend to fill a larger underpass like that back out through some channeling system that I'm not aware of into the Buffalo Bayou. So these are a couple of things they're doing. They say that they need to do it without taking additional property, without exceeding their 100-foot range. Additionally, though, they do have a facility in place whereby they can work whereby Metro can purchase property and then give it to, or could contract somehow it into the city of Houston. So then city of Houston would run that right away. Now, how exactly that fits into this plan wasn't specifically addressed in the last Metro meeting. I either attend or listen to all the Metro strategic and capital meetings and the board meetings. The strategic and capital are where the real updates take place, and anybody can go and download. I'd be glad to give you whatever information, and also I keep a summary of everything. So those basically are the plans now. So our next steps then are going to be with consideration to the design. Since we know that this thing is coming through, we certainly need to start rallying around getting the design up to date. And in the BRT committee, we have working groups. And we've been, so that we can just kind of challenge the work that we have, channel the work that we have through these working groups. And we did the response to the NEPA review. We've been doing the opinion poll. That opinion poll is again to get you guys' opinion, and now we're starting to channel our information into the design. Cameron graciously has created a design document. It's very robust and needs a little bit of work so that we can use it as a working tool. So hopefully with respect to the opinion poll, everybody, if you haven't, I think you may have, but make sure that you return the opinion poll just so that we can have your contact information. It's important to do that. And then we want to start involving you in the design very soon. So that's the neutral. Thank you, Lindsay.
Sure.
Want to go take over?
You want me to tag in? Sure.
Sorry.
Lindsay finished hers and then
Yep.
Tina gave a metro.
That's perfect. Runoff elections are happening right now for mayoral candidates, at-large candidates. There's a very small portion of us who live in District H. There's also a runoff election in District H. Early voting ends tomorrow. The closest location is Baker Ripley. Election day is December 9th. And the two closest places are right here, the Eastwood Academy, to go vote in the neighborhood. There is a public meeting on I-45 expansion on Wednesday, December 6th, at the St. John's Downtown Church. This is for the downtown segments. They also have meetings for the segment from I-10 to 610 and 610 out. These are probably the most relevant for us. There's also a virtual option on December 7th. Highly encourage folks to go out. There's lots of changes that could come with the I-45 project that will impact mobility around Greater Eastwood. In terms of Walker Street sidewalks, so there's a sidewalk project for the East End District that's been ongoing for about 16 weeks now, from Walker from Eastwood to Lockwood. We raised concerns about the loss of a historic concrete street pillar sign at Eastwood and Walker, and the loss of an old established growth tree at the corner of Walker and Fashion. Eastwood District responded to us and indicated that the pillar will be replaced, though it does appear that it was inadvertently lost or broken in the installation, and that the tree was deemed a traffic hazard by the city of Houston because it limited the viewpoint when you were turning off of Walker or onto Walker from Fashion. It was right at the corner, and that's why they chose to remove that tree as a part of the project. I'll take questions in a second. We've also asked that the East End District commits to more proactive communication about these projects. I saw a hand for questions on this one, Swati.
You're doing sidewalks on the north side of Walker as well as the south side of Walker?
The project, as we were told, is only the south side. I have seen recently that they're doing some surveying on the other side, but I don't have an answer for why that is yet. Paul. Mhm. Agreed. They poured that since we wrote this letter. So I have more questions for the East End District. We've opened a line of communication. I think overall, we've been really disappointed with the contractor involved in that project. And I spoke with more neighbors today about that because I live on that block. And there's a lot of frustration with this project. So more things to be raised there, Kat.
Not to add to your problems, but there's also drainage issues on Ruff, where they didn't put a pipe in, so it had even more cooling on Ruff and Eastwood. Is the most effective way to communicate this to go through the Civic Association, or should I also be putting in 311?
311 tickets are really good at getting these things elevated. This is an East End District project, so it's a management district, which makes it a little more interesting on how we do it. A 311 ticket is a really good place to start whenever there's a concern, and then emailing the East End District. We can support you in doing that, but we are also going to raise the concerns. Our voice can be effective in getting a response, but we get a better response when there are lots of voices in addition to ours. So it's always good to write your elected officials. last one, Erin.
But last time we did by that corner of Walker and Eastwood, that empty lot was full of their debris.
They're using it as a staging area.
Were they granted permission?
Based on conversations, yes. So, but yeah.
They can like clean up in a timely manner because it's just
The project has been ongoing for 16 weeks, so I don't know timely, but when it is done, we will be pushing for it to be fixed. Sidewalk projects are super complicated, and I've heard from so many residents that we want better sidewalks. This has been a project of frustration in the way that it's been done, I think, for us to see, but it is challenging to work with all those homeowners. And sorry, the last piece on here, East End District committing to more proactive communication. The next piece I have is Greyhound relocation. This is outside the boundaries of the Civic Association. It's like basically the Magnolia Park Transit Center, I guess is what I would give you as a landmark. There was already a bus depot there, but who is operating there is shifting to include Greyhound. This means they're no longer operating out of the Midtown location. That lease is up. Many electeds have expressed concern about this, that they weren't aware of the changes. Let your electeds know your concern. Also, Commissioner Garcia suggested there's some contact information for the general manager for the bus companies that you can reach out to and express concerns there. We're going to keep an eye on this as a civic association. I expect it will be a continued priority in the new year with the new board. But I think the best thing you can do right now is stay informed with us and let your elected officials know what your concerns are. Are they related to safety, a lack of support for housing the homeless, whatever they may be, express what those concerns are. I see a photo being taken, so pausing. State.
I wonder if we can, I can help coordinate it, but if we can get somehow or another communicate to people like a list of officials and a way to communicate with, that might make the job easier.
I have done that to at least one person. I don't know if they joined us today via email. I compiled a list of folks and we can put the emails there and make that easier to know. That was great. Yeah. The next piece is on State Representative Christina Morales is hosting a holiday senior lunch on the 15th of December. There's a postcard. We'll also post it on our social media, but this one just came in today, so I threw it in here. The last piece, I think this is my last one here, is the Orange Show. Is outside of our boundaries. We wouldn't normally do this, but they're asking to give scholarships to students who attend this 2-day robotics robot building event. So if you have young ones in your life who might be interested in this, please come talk to Kyle and I. We have a link that could get you a scholarship. There's a $300 fee to get in, and they want to waive that for 10 students. So if you know a student who might be interested in spending 2 days building robots on the east side of town, I think this would be a really cool opportunity for them. Okay, those are community updates. Any questions there? Kyle, do you remember?
I think it was pretty wide. I think it was anywhere from middle school to high school.
I can
tell you after.
I know that I don't qualify. I'm just a kid at heart. We do have the information up here, so if you are interested, come talk to us. Okay, with that, the election results are in. Depending on how this goes, I don't know if it's going to update on your computer, so I'm just going to take a preview here and see. It did not. So this is everyone who was eligible. And so I want to start by thanking everyone for their interest in participating in the Civic Association. Our board has to do a lot of work, and it's a big lift to be asked. This is the first time in memory where there's been these past 2 elections, first time in memory where there's been more people interested than we have seats. Please, 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 please keep up that level of engagement, whether you're coming out to events, participating on committees, or sitting on the board. I will have full election result percentages to share via our social media and our website, but for now, how do I just reset this? Yeah, I think so. for now, what our results are is that Catherine, Aaron, Kyle, Matthew, Sarah, and Thomas, welcome to the 2024 Board of Directors. For those of you who were not successful in your seat, your efforts to get a seat on the board of directors, I still want you to participate in our civic association. I think there's a lot to be done with the energy there, and all of the results we can look at later as well. Let me put this back to slide share. Maybe. And let me do the final part of our evening. We're so close to being on time, which is our elected official call-outs, and Councilmember Gallegos has been sitting here very patiently, and I'd like to start with you to come on up, and I guess this will be our last Civic Association meeting with you as our council member, so thank you, Councilmember Gallegos.
Well, good evening, and thank y'all for y'all's participation in the Civic Club, and Lindsay, thank you for everything that you're doing with this, the train pavilion. Like Lindsay stated, it's so important that you report the trains that are blocking the intersections. It's something that I'm not proud of, but unfortunately it was stated by the FRA that the Congressional District 29 is the congressional district out of the whole country that's impacted by trains. The worst one is impacted by trains. So something that we should not be proud of, but I am proud of the sense that it's because residents actually reported the trains. So it's gotten the attention of the FRA. And that's why we are getting funding from the infrastructure bill for the underpass on York and the Great Separation on York, the Great Separation on Commerce Street, because of those numbers. We also got monies for more monitors. We started a program for monitors in regards to monitoring the trains because before we had to rely on Union Pacific stating that, well, so-and-so said your train was there for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and it was our word against their word because they were not about to share that information. Now we have monitors on designated crossings where we have that information. We now have a camera on Fire Station 18, a TV monitor, where it tells the dispatcher and the firefighters there in regards to the triangle, if there's a train blocking, so that way time is not wasted for an emergency vehicle going to or from an emergency. That's what we were able to implement. So again, thank you so much for reporting this, and that's the reason why we got this information. And the FRA did provide funding for some more monitors as well. So I encourage y'all to continue asking the city in regards to those monitors. I just want to give you some quick updates. Rufus Cage building is something that we have been working on for quite some time. Right before COVID, we had a developer that came in. We had a community meeting with the former cage fighters that were trying to save the old Rufus Cage building there on 1417 Telephone Road. The investor developer was going to turn the old building into artist lofts, and the warehouses were going to be for non-profit educational organizations. We were excited, then COVID hit. And then that was the end of that. The developer backed out, he's no longer interested. So now we've got another investor that has reached out to me. What he wants to do is he's going to apply for 9% tax credits from the state. The old building, what he wants to do is turn those into senior housing. And then the warehouses, he's still looking at to see what he's able to do as well. That would be part of the senior housing as well. So that's what he's looking at, but he's going to have to apply to the state to get that 9% tax credit. So that's where we're at with that. In regards to the race grant on Telephone Road that Lindsay mentioned, that was one of the first infrastructure projects in the country in regards to funding. That's going to renew Telephone Road from Lawndale to 610. And then the Harrisburg TERS is going to do Lawndale or do telephone from Lawndale to Lockwood. So we're excited about that. That's going to be a big improvement for the East End in regards to redoing Telephone Road. There's been community meetings on that as well. Also, I'd like to give you an update regarding the Greyhound. Yes, everyone was shocked, even the elected officials. I received a text Tuesday night from a resident, including me and council member-elect Joaquin Martinez, who works one of my staff members, in regards to what's this about Greyhound moving into the East End. So we weren't aware of that. And then that constituent notified Senator Alvarado, and then we all got a text thread with all the elected officials. Everyone was shocked, everyone was surprised, we weren't aware of it. But with that said, I've notified notified the mayor the next morning. He had Public Works and other departments looking into it. I've coordinated a meeting. It's this Thursday with the management district. I've reached out to Constable Trevino. She's going to be there. I reached out to Commander Coleman from the East Side Division. He's going to be there. I reached out to Tom Lambert from Metro. He personally said he will be there. He'll have representatives from Metro Police in that meeting, Management District, the Eastern Chamber. I've reached out to Greyhound, the manager there on Harrisburg. That was a little iffy. I'm not sure if he's going to be there, but I encouraged him to be there. And then in the meantime, Congresswoman Garcia set up a meeting with local elected officials. That's on Wednesday. And it's going to be with the VP regional manager of Greyhound to get some questions and answers in regards to their moving into the East End. My main concern is public safety. Again, I've got less than a month in office. I know a lot of residents are saying, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it. What I'm focusing on, since I have a short period of time, is public safety. So that's why I called a meeting with HPD, with the constable's office, with Metro Police, to see what we can do. I'm going to put some monies in for my district service funds for overtime for HPD. Commander Coleman is looking to see how much that's going to cost, so that way I can know how much money is to allocate. We were working on the civility ordinance with the management district. This was 3-4 months ago, even before we knew about Greyhound coming into the East End. Unfortunately, they didn't the East End Management District put it on hold because of the city elections. But because of Greyhound coming in, putting it back on the fast track, unfortunately, that's going to still take a while. It has to go to the planning department, it has to go to city legal, it has to be voted by city council, and the management district is going to have to go get petitions signed from property owners within the boundaries of the civility ordinance, which is just going to be a tool that can be used also to try to monitor the situation all along Harrisburg. So, are there any questions regarding Greyhound?
Yes, I was told that they control an occupancy budget, that they're using the prior company occupancy. Do you know if that's true?
That may be the case, but talking to, again, when I called the mayor in the morning, Wednesday last week, the following morning after I found out about this, the mayor had Public Works already looking into it. So after the council meeting, I met with Director Haddock with Public Works. I said, what can we do regarding permits? Her response was, council member, regarding permits, there's really nothing that we can do because they're moving from a bus station to a bus station. So they don't really need, more permits. Now, in regards to the occupancy, that's basically because of the name change. So, I mean,
It's a gray area.
yeah, it's a gray area, but that's not going to stop them from basically coming in, and they're there. They closed on Wednesday, they opened up on Thursday. So that what gets me upset is that they knew months in advance what they were doing, but yet they didn't notify the elected officials, they didn't notify the community, the management district. It was just lock it up on Wednesday in Midtown, open it up on Thursday in the East End. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Guy, I'm sorry. Like most of us, I think we're mostly concerned about the potential for crime to, leak into our neighborhood and have a little bit of spillover effect. And just like the speaker in the back here, you know, I've heard some claims that maybe there's going to be the job application for the Texas criminal.
Yeah, Texas Department of Corrections.
Very good. Thank you. Do you know if those claims are substantiated, or if, I mean, I don't think any of us have a problem. There's many lines running in the neighborhood already, but is it going to be a job application?
That's what I'm gonna find out to clarify that. I've heard that. I know that when I've been setting up this meeting in regards to the local elected officials and with law enforcement for the Thursday meeting, we're having it at the management district office. Senator Alvarado reached out to me mentioning that the Texas Department of Corrections supposedly drops off individuals that come out of prison if they're coming to Houston and will be there at the Greyhound station. So I asked her, being that she's the state senator, to look into that and hopefully have someone from the Texas Department of Corrections at this meeting or information on you know, how do they handle that in regards to dropping off. And then today we had a meeting with the American Leadership Institute this afternoon. They of course are concerned as well. They had a good suggestion. I need to get a hold of the Central Command that was dealing with the Midtown Greyhound to see what issues and how did they address those, and invite them to the meeting I'm planning or that we are having on Thursday. So that way the east side can hear what Central had to deal with.
Is that going to be open to the public, or?
No, the meeting on Thursday is just going to be the Constable, HPD, East Side, Metro, hopefully the manager from Greyhound, the Management District, and the Chamber. And the reason why is because, again, I have less than a month, so I just want to focus on public safety. I'm hoping that nothing happens within this time frame that I'm a council member, and we'll make sure that we have security there. And then Joaquin Martinez, council member elect, can do whatever he needs to do after he takes office in January. We're going to have a meeting next week with the businesses along Harrisburg in the area because they've been calling my office as well. And the management district is going to host that meeting next Wednesday. But that's just for the business owners. I was planning to have one for the community before I leave office, but the management district said because of the holidays, it may not work out. So they're suggesting to have a community meeting in the first part of January.
So where can we find out, once, everyone's talking to one another, if this is a job application or not?
I'll be posting it on social media. You can follow me on Facebook. We'll have that information on there.
Just a question in the chat.
Yes.
This year we contacted regarding concerns about relocation of the Greyhound bus station. That was a question.
About the relocation?
We can push the contact.
Well, right now they can call my office. I mean, in regards to the meeting that the Congresswoman's going to have with the local elected officials and the VP from Greyhound, that's on Wednesday. I'll get more information on the contact for Greyhound.
Is there any thought about if it is accurate that it is a dropping point, and we know that there's more outreach going on? Would there also be maybe talk of more social workers on site instead of like police officers? Because
I'm putting a district service fund money for overtime to East Side Division with assurances that they will be patrolling on Harrisburg. And then also I'm looking at putting monies for the hot team for HPD, so that way they can go out and speak to homeless individuals and people that are needing resources to try to find them housing and move, or hopefully place them in the navigation center. But that's tricky. That's only if they wish to do so. You can't force someone, to do something that they don't want to do.
I just want to make sure that the forces that go out there do have some kind of background in social work.
Yeah, that'd be hot too.
Okay.
That'd be hot too. So with all that said, let me also announce here, we have a groundbreaking ceremony for the Forest Park Lawndale Dog Park. That's this coming Saturday. It's at 9 a.m. It's a groundbreaking, it was property that was owned by Forest Park Lawndale, where they used to sell their monuments and what have you. The Parks Board ended up purchasing that property. So we have the Parks Department and the Parks Board in my office. I put monies in there for my district service funds. And it's a groundbreaking. I don't have a date as to when we will do the ribbon cutting, but it is groundbreaking. The reason why we're doing that is because I had residents in Idawood at their Civic Club meeting last month that they've been hearing about this for the longest time and nothing's happened. So therefore, before I leave office, I want to make sure it's a groundbreaking. It's in the books, and we're having this, and council member elect Joaquin Martinez can be there for the ribbon cutting. But it's going to be a nice dog park for. Yeah, it's right there. It's right across from West Woodland Golf Course, right by Brace Bayou. That empty property right there. Yeah, all that's owned by the Parks Board, and that's where we're going to have a dog park. We had community input in regards to the design of what people wanted to see there at the dog park. So again, I invite y'all for this Saturday. You can bring your dogs if you wish to do so. There'll be donuts and coffee, and we're just doing a little groundbreaking ceremony for it to be official. With that said, do y'all have any questions on that or anything else? No? Okay. Well, let me close by saying thank you so much. It's been my pleasure, my honor representing District I. I was born and raised in the East End. In Magnolia Park. I lived in Country Club Place. I was president of my city club for 15 years before I was a city council member. I was the founder, first president of the Eastwood Lawndale Wayside Super Neighborhood. So I was active before being a council member as a community leader. Like I told Joaquin Martinez, it's not getting rid of me. Once I leave office, I'll be back active in the community. So again, it was my pleasure, my honor serving you all for these past 10 years. Thank you.
I extend my thanks to the council member as well. It's been an advocate in our corner for many challenges that we faced as a civic association, and we've been very grateful for the relationship that you've built with us. With that, we're at the end of the meeting. We're going to move into a 2024 board term. That board will set the meeting agenda, but typically we miss the first Monday of January since everyone's recovering from holidays. So save the date for Monday, February 5th for the next general membership meeting, and then we'll give a full list of dates then. With that, there are cookies outside with bags for you to take some and go. Please make your own grab bags with cookies, and thank you very much for letting me be your president for this major month.